Okay, so the congruency symbol tells me how I'm going to pair them out. So what kind of statements can we write? Well, we can say something about the angles. We can say something about the sides, okay? Because we've already made the statement about the triangle. So if I said angle D is congruent to which one? Angle R, because they're both in the first position. Might not look like it in the triangle, but we want to go by what the written congruency statement is to figure out our line and our order. So if I said angle F, what would it be congruent to? Okay, angle T. And who else can tell me what my last angular congruency statement would be? Raise your hand. What would the last one be? Sydney? Angle E is congruent to angle S, yes. Okay, with congruency, order is important, correct? So when we talk about sides, if I said segment FE, what would it be congruent to in the other triangle? Sarah? I have to go T to S, right, not S to T. What are some other congruency statements that I could say about my sides? What would one be? Kaylee? So these aren't lines, but they are line segments, correct. And what would the last one be? Triangle has 3 sides, so it's got to have 3 congruency statements. There's one more on here. Okay, Allie. Good. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, so watch for your order. All right, third angle theorem. This is a theorem. It says if 2 angles, and you're going to want to put this in your little notebook, if 2 angles in one triangle are congruent to 2 angles in a second triangle, then what's it going to say? If 2 angles in one triangle are congruent to 2 angles in the other, then what are we going to say about the third ones? They have to be congruent too, right? Because they're both out of 180 degrees, both of the triangles, right? So then the third angles are also congruent. In A, they kind of got hooked together. So basically I'm saying if these 2 angles are congruent and these 2 angles are congruent, then by default, this last angle has to be congruent also. And that just makes sense, doesn't it? There's no way they couldn't be the same. Okay? Anything else? Okay, so let's see if we remember. Reflexive property of congruency. You should have these already. If something is reflexive, what do we say? Give me an example of a reflexive statement. What do you have, Athena? AB is congruent to BA. What's symmetric? What's that one? Aaron? AB is congruent to AB. Order important, stays the same. Transitive. These are some of your best friends, these 3. You'll use them a lot. What's transitive? Claire? Congruent to B. Yep. Okay. Really important that you know those. Okay. Really important. So you should already have these in your spiral note cards. If you don't, put them in. Okay. Here we go. By the definition of congruence, what additional information is needed to know that the triangle NDC is congruent to triangle NSR. What other information? Let's look at what we know. The only thing we know right now is that we've got angle. What do we know about angle D? All right, that means this has to be 68 degrees also. Would you agree? Okay, what else do we know? What else do we know, Paige? Okay, so they're midpoints. The measure of those lengths are congruent. Okay, what else do we know? What else? Catherine? Kathleen, sorry. See, it's what happened. Go ahead. Good. And we know this why? They're vertical angles. Another one that's going to be your best friend, vertical angles. So these are vertical angles, which means they have the same value, right? And we already said that angle D is congruent to angle S because it's given. And what's the last statement that we can say? What can we say? Kaylee? Okay, and they're both going to have the same measure of 75 degrees, right? And that's by the, which one? No? Third angle theorem, right. All right. Find the measure of angle YXW. All right. So when you read these, which angle am I really looking for? YXW. Where's the vertex? At X, right? X is the vertex. So when I ask for YXW, I'm looking for this whole value right here. Do you understand that? Part of it's what? 35 degrees. Okay. All right. So what are we going to do here? Look at everything that's given and start writing. Just start writing. Tell me one thing that's given that I can use. Gabby. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, we do. I would agree. Does she see what she's saying? She's saying this little one right here is congruent to this little one right there. Okay? We know one other really big piece of information. And with this stuff, this chapter, pull apart pictures. If you need to, pull it apart on your paper. All right? Play around and see what it gets you. You might pull it apart in the wrong way the first time, but try pulling it apart again. Mary? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that would make, this is 70, so that would make this 110. Okay? Yes? Claire? 35 plus 35 plus, so you're going to make that x, okay, so 35 plus 35 plus 40 plus that little x has to equal 180. So we have 70, we have 110, right? Equals the angle of YXW is going to equal 105. Perfect. And you might have gotten this a different way. Okay? In my mind, what I saw was, I know that this is 35, and this is 40, this whole value is the same as this side, right? That's how I saw it in my head, all right? But then Emma went on, I think, or whoever, who told me about this 110? Who was that? Mary? Mary said that this was 110. Well, guess what? You could have gone another route, couldn't you have? You could have said, well, that makes this 70, and guess what? You have another little triangle that all adds up to 180. So do you see that there's not always one direct path to get to this answer? It's really just how you start seeing all the information. Do you get that? Okay. All right, here we go. SV is congruent to RV. Start writing this down. We know that those are congruent. And ST is congruent to RW. And TV is congruent to this. I'm showing you sides that are congruent. Angle T is congruent to angle W. Prove that triangle STV is congruent to triangle RWV. What do I need? What am I going to do here? What do you see? Kathleen? So let's do a little proof. I'm asking you to prove. So you've got your given and your statement, or your statement and reason. And I'm just going to say all the given. And you can too. Okay, you don't have to restate all that given stuff. All right, if you know that it's given, just put it all down. Okay? So, you just told me that the vertical angles are congruent, right? So, let's make a statement of that. That means if I say angle SVT, we got to get the order right, correct? What am I going to say for the other one? If I'm going to go SVT, then the order on the other one would start with which? No, SV, one tick, RVW. And we said that the reason was vertical angles, or vertical angle theorem. Okay. Yes, I do THM. All right, so we've just proven these are congruent, right? What else? I'm looking for the triangles to be congruent. The triangles are congruent. What am I going to say, Isabel?
Well, if those two angles are congruent.
And so we can say, good. What angle do you want to say? This is an S and an R. So you don't have to be so specific because angle S is only angle S, right? I don't have different options, so I can just say angle S is congruent to, and you know that by the third angle theorem, right? And then we know that if we can say that triangle STV is congruent to triangle RWV, because this is called the angle postulate. If all three angles in one triangle are congruent to all three angles in another, then the triangles have to be congruent. Athena. Yeah. RWV. Angle. That's the angle theorem, or postulate. Okay. Okay. If ABC, I'm telling you, I'm giving you this. ABCD is congruent to GHEF. Claire? Oh, you're going to answer? Hold on, let me read it. So I'm telling you that these are congruent. How am I going to figure out what X and Y are? So how would I figure out X? X is a side length, yes? So what side is HG congruent to, according to even the statement here? AB. Do I know what AB is? All right, so we're just going to say 4x minus 3 is 6. 4x is equal to 9. So x is, or 9/4. All right? If I want y is angle E. What does angle E is it congruent to? I've got lots to choose from, so don't go by the way it looks. Go by the congruency statement. Claire? Angle C, so 5y minus 12 equals angle who? But I don't have angle C. You sure you get 180? So let's think back. A triangle adds up to 180. What does a quadrilateral add to? 360, right? So, right idea. So we know that we can figure out angle C. Let's do that. 360 minus 86 minus 91 minus 113 means angle C has to be what? What is that? Get your calculator out and work it out. Okay, Athena? Because won't everything you're trying to figure out what y is, right? So you're right. This is the same as this, but if you set them equal to each other, Athena, they all cancel out and you get 0 equals 0. Paige, what'd you get here for C? So angle C is equal to 70 degrees. And so we're going to set 5y minus 12 equal to 70 degrees. And so 5y equals 82, right? And so what does that make y? 16 point who? Okay. All right. Same idea. These triangles are congruent. What is 4x minus 9? What is that going to be set equal to? Angle G, right? 1 tick, 1 tick. 2 tick, 2 ticks. No tick, no tick. Right? All right. So what am I going to set? What is angle G going to equal then? 35 degrees, because we're going to take it from 180, correct? And so then we'll say that 4x minus 9 equals 35. 4x is equal to 44. So x is equal to 11. How we doing? Good? Anything else? Is that it? Ooh. Sure. I just was seeing if we had another. There you go. Okay. All right. Save it. Don't lose it. Are you taking notes, Hannah? You're taking notes on this? Okay, you need to show me that you have. Why aren't you taking your notes on here? Oh, because you forgot your stylus. Okay. All right. So fine. You need to figure out